How's it hanging, YouTube? Peter here, your Ginger Jory Geek. Welcome back to the channel for another episode of Top 3. And this is going to be an exciting one. And as ever, I'm joined by my bestest buds on YouTube. We've got James T. Keegan. Ayo.
On your left.
Oh, I see what you did there. Yeah, very good. Very good. I like it. Liking the top as well, James. Liking the top.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Oh, there you go.
Are you well? Are you good?
I'm very good, man. Let's talk. We're going to be talking a good bit about my absolute all-time favorite movie, so I'm quite excited for this one I'm looking forward to.
I suspect we're going to be spending a lot of time talking Winter Soldier, but that's good because it's a fantastic film. And as ever, we're joined by our good friend Ben, the attention-seeking geek. How are you, sir?
Yep, I can do this all day, or at least till 9:30, because then I'll probably start to.
Past your bedtime. Past your bedtime. Are you well?
I am. Yeah. I'm looking forward to this. You know, it's MCU gets a lot of flack at the moment, so I like these videos to try and kind of celebrate the things that we've had from the MCU so far.
Yeah.
So.
Balance it out a little bit. Try and balance it out a wee bit. Okay, we should have also been joined by our
was ever going to come out of your mouth.
Unfortunately,
awkward.
What?
The way you said balancing, it was like it took forever to come out of your mouth. Then it was like
you've frozen, or have I frozen?
Oh God,
he's frozen.
Oh, it's all gone wrong. Is it Peter? Is it me?
Yeah, he's a bit of a delay for him, I think.
Is it the chat?
I think you guys I've got a bit of a delay. Okay, so we should have been joined by.
We'll do it, James. You know, if we can't rely on the host, then who can you rely on?
I know, right? It's terrible. There he is.
Oh, I see how this fucking night's going to go, honestly. Don't you start. I had a bad enough night on bloody Saturday with pissed Keegan and pissed GP. Although James will say, I wasn't drunk. Yeah.
I wasn't that drunk. I wasn't obnoxious.
Yeah, be good. Be good.
It's allowable.
Okay, so before we crack on, I'm just going to quickly jump and talk a little bit about what's coming up on our channels over the next few nights and weeks. A few things that have happened on my channel recently. CGC unboxings. Done 2 videos of that now. Latest one's out. If you like Kanto, please do go check that out. I did my 1/6 scale unboxing of good old Battle Cat. That thing's friggin' humongous. So again, superb. Go and check it out, please. I did a little video about do I need to pick up the Super 7 Cat Slayer, which everybody keeps telling us is fantastic. So watch that video and find out what I decided to do. Coming up soon, we've got How to Store Graded Comics. James, you'll be looking forward to this one. I'm unboxing my 1/6 scale Hercules. I know you're excited to see that one because it's a cool one. I've got a video called Moan About the MCU, which is literally what I've just been talking about. So I'm the problem. And then I've got an unboxing of stuff that I don't remember buying. A couple of live shows. We've done a couple of This Is Mice. We're hopefully doing Rob Fat Stacks this Saturday. We did our Let's Talk Toys earlier in the week, which was tremendous. It was great fun. It was nice to have Ben back doing a Lego section, even though Lego sucks. But that was quite a nice section. I enjoyed that. Yeah. We did our Saturday Night Live, where we had a bit of a talk about all the news and some ghosty stuff. And James ate some hot sauce.
I did.
Yeah.
45 likes, baby. You're welcome.
Yeah. And you nearly died, which was fun. So yeah, we did that. Ben, what we've got coming up on your channel?
Yes, so another Lego video, which seems to be a bit of a trend appearing on my channel now, where I basically just unbox a handful of the new Marvel Studios Series 2 minifigures. So that's a lot of fun. I gave a little review, unboxing reaction video to the Ministry of Mask Last of Us clicker mask that I recently picked up, ready for the love of horror with you boys in November. So excited for that. And then we went live on, when did we do this? Friday
night.
For Intranale, which is basically a series of shows where I will go live for the introductory episode or episodes of a series, and then the finale episode, and we give our thoughts and rundown and give a bit of speculation as to who the fuck Marek is and stuff like that. So yeah, one of the craziest theories came up today. I won't go off on a tangent, but clone Luke Skywalker is someone genuinely pitched. Get out of here. Stop it. Stop it.
I
But yes,
personally liked it when I don't remember who it was, but I think it might have been Von Hoot said, "Can Marek just not be Marek? Has it got to be someone?" And I think we all just kind of went, "No, no, no,
that is true.
It's possible.
it's got to be someone exciting."
And
Yeah.
I
But no,
gave
that-
I've got a short on there as well as a tribute to Bray Wyatt, just a collection of the times that I've kind of cosplayed and put him in videos and stuff like that. So yeah, you can head over and check that out as well if you're a wrestling fan.
good stuff. Some great content.
Andy wants me to put the lights on. There you go, Andy.
Oh, there we are. Oh, very nice. Efren, like I say, couldn't be here with us tonight, but he's got a couple of things up and going. He's got this set of books that were gifted to him by Black Saber Comics, some stunning Venom covers there, and he's going to be giving those away on excuse me, on his channel. So please do check that out. And he's got his Did You Know series of videos. So again, please check those out. Okay, let's quickly jump to the chat. Got friggin' tons of comments. I might not be able to go through all of these, but let's see who we've got. We've got good old StreamYard. Thank you for joining. Always nice to see you. We've got MJ Comics. Thank you very much for joining, bud. We've got Fuzzy Dunlop. We're going to act like grown-ups tonight, right?
Of course.
Yeah. I'm not sure who that's aimed at, James. JP, hey James. Hey Sheriff Fuzzy. We've got Andy here from Perpetual Comics. Always nice to see you, Andy. Hope you had a nice break last week, mate. I know you're on holiday. Quickly scanning through. We've got Connie. I'm here to talk about Winter Soldier to an annoying degree.
Aren't we all, Connie?
Yeah, I think there's going to be an awful lot of Winter Soldier talk tonight, I'm afraid. Quickly scan. We've got Sean. Thank you for joining, Sean. I hope you're well. Let's have a look. We've got Jack. Thank you for joining, Jack. Fuzzy. It was a car crash. I'm not sure what I think he's talking about Saturday's show.
Your show, not mine. How dare you?
Yeah. You have a tighter rein on things than your show, Ben. Kenneth, nice to see you, my friend. Ben, stick lights on your Lego. Funny wig Ben's wearing. Jack saying, GP, have I been in a coma or something? You only had a few thousand subs the other day. Massive congrats. GP's now officially one of the biggest YouTubers, comic YouTubers in the world, I think, which is very cool.
Jack, we're all as confused as you, so don't worry.
Yeah, I think that's caught up. Thank you very much, everybody. Okay, please do hit that like button and say and subscribe to everybody's channels. It would be appreciated. So, chaps, tonight we are here to talk Phase 2 of the MCU. Really enjoyed our chat about Phase 1. So this one's going to be interesting, I think. So this one encompasses Iron Man 3, Thor: The Dark World, Captain America: Winter Soldier, Guardians of the Galaxy, Avengers: Age of Ultron, and Ant-Man. So before we get into the actual scenes, roundabout thoughts on this phase in general. Was it a hit? Was it a miss? What were the kind of the shining moments for you? Did it continue on as you'd kind of hoped from Phase 1? We'll start with you, James. What do you think?
I think it's a massive hit. I mean, for one, I think you have the best Marvel movie of all time in here, but also like Guardians of the Galaxy is just incredible, and it was such a breath of fresh air at that time. It was kind of, blew open the whole cosmic realm, and it was tonally quite different from what we had seen in the others. Ant-Man, a very underrated one as well, and I know Age of Ultron has kind of people have mixed feelings on, but I love it. I think it's fantastic, and there's a lot of really amazing stuff in it. So yeah, I mean, like I think it's an excellent phase, and really at the first 3 phases in Marvel, it's hard to pin down anything that's actually bad, genuinely bad. Like some of it's better than others, but like overall the quality is quite consistent.
I mean, I think you hit the nail on the head there. And I don't know what Ben thinks. I'll come to him in a second. But for this show, we always say pick 3 good scenes and 1 worse scene. And for Phase 1, particularly, and also for this phase, I kind of had to really, really think hard about a bad scene or something that I didn't like. Were you the same, Ben?
Yeah. I think it's considerably harder than the DC one, anyway. But like I think this phase was maybe less critically consistent. you know, than the first phase. You know, I think the Dark World, Age of Ultron, you know, Iron Man 3 had its critiques at the time. I think Iron Man 3 has grown in people's minds, you know, and the kind of the relevancy of Iron Man 3 has kind of just got, you know, people have kind of, it's a slow burn, but like when you get the points that Iron Man 3 is trying to make, I actually think it's a lot clever than people let it on to be. But yeah, I mean, for me, Ant-Man and Guardians are probably some of my favorite films of the whole MCU, like from start to finish, you know, from start to now. So yeah, in terms of that, you know, and the Winter Soldier as well. Sorry, gosh, I kind of don't even say that because it's like, it's just
Assumed.
a given that everyone knows it's the greatest film of all time. So yeah, like 3 out of 6 there is a pretty good statistic, you know. And
you see now,
yeah,
I mean, I would argue even the 3 that aren't necessarily as good are still pretty good compared to some of the more recent stuff we've got, you know. I completely agree with you. I enjoyed Ant-Man 3 at the time, and I've been back and rewatched it a little while ago, and I think it stands up. I think there's some good stuff in it. Iron Man 3, sorry.
I think it was a bit ahead of its time. Like if we had something like that now, I think people will call it a breath of fresh air and praise it for, you know, being bold and taking risks. Yeah, like people were miffed about the Mandarin thing. That's since been rectified with, you know, Shang-Chi and everything. So yeah, like I think it's a strong film, definitely.
I'm sure we're going to get into it about the Mandarin thing. I loved the Mandarin thing. I thought it was superb at the time, and I'm a big, long-time comic geek. I wasn't upset or offended at all, you know. So I think it's an interesting movie. Thor: Dark of the World, I would take that any day over Love and Thunder. And I know some people will disagree, but I know it's not the best movie, but I still like the interpretation of Thor better. Just going to quickly jump to the comments, guys. Andy, as ever, trying to wind people up. It was all downhill after Blade. Actually, you know what?
Blade 2 is a better film than Blade, though. In my
opinion. It is. You're right. I'm not
sure about that. That first one.
No, you're wrong. You're wrong. It's interesting. We were talking before you came on, Ben, about perhaps going back and doing like a film kind of review thing of the MCU, starting at the very beginning, and because we didn't really, as a group, review any of these old films. I'd love to go back and rewatch Blade 1 and 2, not 3. I'm not watching 3, but certainly 2 is one of my. And the guy from Bros is in it, isn't it? Luke Goss. Luke Goss, yeah. So yeah, I'd definitely go back and watch that. Wayne, enjoyed Dark World. Me too, bud. Me too. Fuzzy, Iron Man 3 had one of the best written MCU scripts to date. Yeah, I see. And I love the interaction between
Fuzzy.
Yeah, I enjoyed the interaction between Iron Man and the kid as well. I thought it was funny, you know. Yeah, it was cool. Save that power, Ben. There's an energy crisis going
on. Batteries, isn't they? Money doesn't grow on trees. I can't.
Exactly. We'll do a whip around. If you want Ben's lights to stay on, send in some cash. All right.
4 AA batteries were £1. I can't.
Looking back in hindsight, these were all Oscar-worthy compared to some of the tripe we've gotten recently. Again, I can't disagree with that. Shane Black can do it wrong.
The Predator. I don't know.
Yeah. Trevor is the most underrated character ever. Yeah. And we're getting him again, aren't we, in Wonder Man, hopefully.
Yep.
So that'll be cool. So one of the things we only do is pick our favorite movies and things like that. 30 likes for Ben lights. Yeah. If we hit 30 likes, Ben will switch his lights back on. Yeah. So one of the things we normally do is talk about our favorite movies, but I wanted to focus on the villains from this phase a little bit because there were some interesting ones, and some very cool ones as well. So I want you to each just kind of say who your favorites were or what you thought of some of them. But I'm going to start you off with a question. When I saw the trailers for Winter Soldier, and when I saw up till about 3/4 of the way through the movie, really, I was sure the Robert Redford character was going to turn out to be the Red Skull, because we know he's done that in the comic books. He's kind of come back and been rumors. Yeah. Did any of you thinking that as well? I'm glad he wasn't in the end because I liked him as a character as he was.
His own guy,
you know.
Yeah. No, I agree. I thought that as well. That was like everybody kind of going into it had assumed. That'd be the case.
So we'll start with you this time, Ben. Villains. What
Mm.
did you think of the villains in this phase?
Yeah, phenomenal in the most part. Like, I really enjoy the problem had already crept in, right? Even in phase 2, in that these villains are villainous for a weekend or for a
Yeah.
week, and the threat is very quickly kind of extinguished, and that's kind of it. And it's a shame because the performances are incredible. The look of the villain is incredible. The way the villain is written is incredible. But then, it's kind of just serves the purpose for that one film. And you look at Ultron being the prime example. Ultron really should have been a villain for a whole phase.
Yeah, absolutely.
And should have really been that kind of Thanos status level threat. And there are murmurs that he might, re-emerge in some shape or form, which I'm all for, because I think it's James Spader, is it? He does the
James
voice.
Spader.
Like,
Yeah, the voice is just amazing.
yeah, and just the little speeches he kind of gives about the hypocrisy of the Avengers and heroes in general and stuff are just absolutely incredible. I think Yellow Jacket is one of the coolest designed characters in the MCU. Like it's we're getting a lot of comic accurate costumes now, but this is one where they kind of just went, no, we're going to do something completely different here. But what they kind of came up with was ultimately very, very cool. So when I said about not across the board, I don't think I guess he's the version of the Mandarin, isn't he? Not Trevor Slattery. That's a separate thing, which I will come to later. But yeah, no. What's the actor's name? Guy Pearce, is it?
Yep, Guy Pearce.
Yeah. Like I really didn't dig his character, and just such a trope. The geeky guy who's spoken down to, suddenly kind of becomes good looking and villainous, and I don't know. And I think Christopher Eccleston's Malekith unfortunately maybe wasn't in the right film. I think the actual performance, like Christopher Eccleston's incredible, and I love the Elvish language and stuff, and I love the design, but it just kind of doesn't feel like a threat by the end of the film. So that's good and bad.
I mean, Christopher Eccleston was actually I changed my mind, but he was my pick for worst point of this phase. Not necessarily because of his performance, but because I think this was the first time that the cracks in the MCU showed, when you got him kind of publicly pulling the film to bits in the press and complaining about the makeup process and being quite negative about being in the movie altogether. And it was like, well, up until that point, it had all been positive and building, How about you, James?
He's a grumpy bastard, though, Eccleston.
Yeah, he is.
He just did like a summer of movies he hated.
But but he is a grumpy, shit.
For me, like Winter Soldier, but like it feels like he's not a villain like by the end of the movie, and then going forward, so like it's hard to say he is the villain. But like just in terms of like
Connie's kicking off about him even being on here, to be fair.
Yeah. Like just in terms of presence in the movie, I think I would pick him. Like he's like just feels like a force of nature in that, and like kind of just to get the impact of that. And like there's specific scenes I know we're going to get to later, so I'll save it for that. I really liked Ultron, and I wasn't as upset about the kind of some of the dialogue of it, like the tonal inconsistencies where he's like, what are they called? Oh, children, like I didn't mind that. But yeah, I think they should have gone a bit more serious with it. But like it's a phenomenal performance, some amazing sequences and like monologues that he has. And yeah, Ben was absolutely right. Like the pointing out that the Avengers maybe are the problem in the world. I thought that was like an interesting perspective for a villain to have. And like, I think if an AI looked at, they probably are looking at people and going, yeah, they need to go, so fair. And then like Ronan, I feel is a really underrated one. Like I think visually really interesting. I like the whole dynamic of, he's working for Thanos initially, and then he grows so powerful, he like overtakes him. And I thought that was, just this kind of religious sellish.
He's very classic villain, isn't he? Like there's no like, oh, I'm a villain because my parents, were nasty to me or whatever. Like there's no sob story. He just is a bad guy.
Yeah, and just works so perfectly for that movie, I think, as well. That's the type of villain you need for it. So yeah, like they're not like none of these are like incredible, I think, but like they're not. People back then used to say there was like a real villain problem, and I didn't think it was as bad as people were saying back then. You know?
No, I completely agree, and I think the other thing that jumped out to me, particularly with Winter Soldier and the casting of Robert Redford, there, you know, was the proper A-list talent that was now coming into comic movies, you know? I mean, Robert Redford's like a legend. I know I had Tommy Lee Jones, who was also a legend, but he'd done comic movies before and stuff. But people who've got like what your class as proper acting chops coming into these movies, I just think signaled the fact that these aren't just for kids anymore. These were kind of legitimate cinema, which I thought was fantastic. Just going to jump to the comments, guys, before we move on. Jack, Ronan was awesome. Yeah, I really liked him as well. I thought he was very, very cool. Wayne, Yellow Jack, better than Dildo Maddox. Okay. Ant-Man had lost his way by the time he got to the end fight for me. That's interesting, Fuzzy. Interesting. You're going to upset Ben. Ultron has to come back. Absolutely. I would love to see James Spader back. Ultron's too big of a classic Avengers villain for that to be it, I think. I would imagine
Prime, isn't it? It writes itself.
Yeah, exactly. I think we'll see him again in the future. Connie, I think this is why Age of Ultron felt flat for me a bit, because it's not really a bad movie. It just didn't feel substantial enough. I think we'd hit that kind of amazing peak with Avengers, and you know, it was hard for them to follow that on. Jack, I like the final battle on Ant-Man with the train track. I thought it was very creative. Yeah, it was superb. Fuzzy's disagreeing with you, Ben. It looks like a cheap bootleg toy.
I think it's cool. I enjoy it.
Christopher Eccleston is fairly negative chap. Yeah. Let's have a look.
After my own heart.
Yeah. Actually, we've never seen you in the same room together, Ben. Is that not just you in a mask? Apart from Bucky having a cool arm, is he not just a bit crap? Andy again trying to cause friction in fights.
We need a moderator.
There, and he trying to reel him in.
Block
verbal abuse.
Connie, I think I agree with you. Alexander Pierce is maybe the best villain, because really what's scarier than a powerful rich person? Yeah, and I think he was very so cool in the kind of the way he manipulated everybody. Yeah,
probably overlooked, I think, because he's not like very comic booky. You know, he's just a guy in the suit, and isn't that why? Yeah, but like an amazing performance, and I think in the movie he works so well.
Yeah, he's not kind of mustache twirling bad guy, is he? He's you know, he's like a cool businessman. So yeah, very cool. Okay, guys, let's crack on with our picks. Like I say, Ephraim was unfortunately called away, but we'll cover his picks anyway, because I'm sure you guys will be keen to talk about.
And he can't defend himself, you know.
He can't defend him, yeah, which he's going to have to do at the end of the show, Ben, because I've seen his picks. So, as ever, the chaps haven't seen what each other have picked, and they send them all to me. So these will be a surprise for everybody. Ephraim's first pick is this initial kind of opening scene of Age of Ultron, where the Avengers kind of assemble. James, I think, did you send us this one as well?
I wanted this one, and you told me it was taken. Yeah.
So why do you like this scene in particular?
It's just the Avengers being a team together, you know, and a lot of the time in the main Avengers movie, like they kind of have broken up, or they are just getting together, or you know, this was like seeing how they've kind of been acting when they're together for so long, and I just love seeing that. I think it's really well filmed, the way it kind of goes from character to character, and then this kind of slow-mo shot of them all passing. It's just like a fun comic booky sequence of like the Avengers taking on a Hydra castle, and like it was, I remember in the cinema, this was like, you just got you in it so much. It was so exciting. So yeah, absolutely love this sequence.
Ben, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, it made no tactical sense for them to be in a line all attacking from one individual place. But it looked cool, right? And that's what matters most sometimes in these films. And I think this scene, James is absolutely right, you know, just so much fun seeing them as a team, and it doesn't quite kind of, you know, give you that kind of kick-ass moment when they went all back to back in the circle in the first Avengers film, but it kind of duplicates that feeling a little bit, you know, and kind of took us back to that place, ready for it obviously to all fall down, you know, as the film sort of takes place. But I got a real kick from the Baron Strucker, inclusion as well in this. So yeah, and just I talk about it a lot, but it really fucking bugs me. Like action scenes always being at night, poorly lit. This is just a great example again of like broad daylight. The snow was like a nice touch visually and stuff, and yeah, just a lot of fun. And Hulk, like fuck, man,
Hulk.
I miss this Hulk, and I don't want to, because I don't necessarily like how much people are completely shitting on the Hulk at the moment, because I do think that's part of the plan. I think there's a wider plan with Hulk, but it does make you miss this Hulk, I've got to say.
I mean, I agree with you guys. Plain devil's avocado, there is some ropey CGI in this at times. There are bits where it looks a bit PlayStation-y, I think. But the overall, I think there's some incredible... I love the bit where Cap throws his bike, I think, at some point at somebody and stuff.
Yeah, it does a flip over and throws in, like, language.
I was going to say, the humour in this, for all we're shit on Whedon these days, and I am going to shit on him massively later on, the humor in this was great. So there's the language line, which is tremendous. But then also, Ben, you mentioned the Struckers. I love that bit where he gives the kind of the prep talk. We're going to beat them. And then he kind of turns his back and says, right, ready the jet or whatever. And he's fucking off, So yeah, I think this is a very, very cool scene. So good pick, Ephraim. We've got 22 people watching. Thank you very much, ladies and gents. Please do hit that like and subscribe button for my channel, James T. Keegan's channel, and Attention Seeking Geeks channel. They're both very, very close to 1,000 subs. So please try and help them out tonight and give them a bit of a like and a subscription thing.
Getting there. It's a fucking slog, isn't it?
Oh, look at this, man. Look at this.
You can almost hear this image, can't you?
Yeah. This is phenomenal.
Just kind of felt maybe for the first time in all... I know you kind of get the moment where they're all getting beaten a little bit at the end of the Avengers film, but like for me, I think this felt for the first time that our heroes were in genuine danger. I was watching this like actually concerned. Oh shit! Like someone might die here. Like one of the lead characters or whatever might. Yeah. Something bad's going to happen, and I don't know whether that's just the way it's kind of scored. It's got this like amazing kind of screeching sound, when the Winter Soldier sort of attacks. But I want to give credit as well in this scene to the sound editors. Because every single punch feels real. Every time the arm, or the shield kind of makes impact with something, it sounds really kind of ferocious and authentic. And I just think it's just incredibly choreographed. Like, it's just a real like perfect action sequence for me. I think Winter Soldier, you honestly could not look cooler than that motherfucker in that film. Like just with the hair, the goggles, the mask, and just like when he actually takes the shield himself. Us comic book fans obviously got a kick from that because of Bucky's history with the shield. But like Black Widow is like shot. She's she's proper like shot in the shoulder in this, and like the jeopardy is real, and just that emotional moment obviously when Steve realizes the mask falls off and Steve realizes that it's Bucky and says Bucky, and he's like, who? Just for me this is kind of the pinnacle of that incredible film. I think there's lots of amazing scenes, but I think this was the scene that really kind of makes everyone pay attention to that film. So yeah, that's why I picked it.
It's just absolutely phenomenal. And I mean the knife work in it as well, when they're fighting around the car and stuff. And it's just it's perfection. James,
this is my favorite movie scene of all time. Like the best fight scene ever put to film, I think. Just like you said, the kind of the danger of it, like it really does feel like he can and might actually lose, which you just never feel at any point in any of these up to that point. The sounds, like even things like the way like he's holding the knife up to him and the arm just kind of locks into another position and punches forward and it scratches through the van and everything. And as that kind of escalates, he starts losing and it gets more kind of desperate. Absolutely incredible. There's so many like so well choreographed, like he drops the knife and catches it and goes again. And it's just like, I just love watching this scene. Like I will probably once a month I'll like flick onto YouTube and just watch this scene. It's just so well made, and in the cinema was absolutely jaw-dropping. I think this scene probably locked it for me as my favorite movie, I would say. Just absolutely incredible, and I'll be surprised if we can get another like MCU fight scene that's anywhere close to on par with this.
Yeah, I mean, I think putting these slides together, you know, we've obviously had a lot of MCU movies, which is what's made us interested in going back and doing some reviews of the older ones. But I think you forget some of the ones, you know, you remember them a little bit. But then when we've started stacking up the scenes here, I absolutely think Winter Soldier is probably my favorite Marvel movie now. I think I need to go back and rewatch just to make sure it's not just rose-tinted glasses. But I just remember the feeling in the cinema watching these scenes again. It's just stunning. And we're going to come to some of I love this scene, Ben. I absolutely do love this scene for the choreography and the battle and everything. But there's one other scene in that movie that pips it for me just for the sheer coolness, which we'll talk about later on. But yeah, superb pick. And the one that a couple of were picked, I have to say, because it's so cool.
Got in there first, which is...
You got in there first. You did. You got in there first. James.
This is a heartbreaking one, isn't it?
Yeah.
I remember crying in the cinema at this. We are Groot. Yeah, and like what I appreciate about it is like they found a way to keep Groot, but this death I think still has impact. Like it is a different Groot that we have in the Guardians movies now, so like it doesn't feel undercut in any way. Just like, you know, throughout the movie, Groot's just this kind of comedic character, and he has this kind of beautiful moment where he kind of, you know, branches extend from him and he covers them all, and just really, like, it's hard to get through the scene and not at least tear up, if not just outright start crying. And I think this might be the first MCU scene that did that to me, I think, as well. Like, excellent.
It's phenomenal. And what a payday Vin Diesel's had with this character. Do you know what I mean? He just need to put a lot of effort in, but
well, he records it in all different languages and stuff, doesn't he? Like, as well.
Does he?
Yeah, he does. He does every language.
Oh yeah.
Of it.
Yeah.
You say that though, that like that's a hard task.
Yeah.
When it's 3 words.
Yeah. I'd like to know what it is. In fact, I'm going to watch that and see what it's like in some other languages. Ben, what do you think of this one?
Yeah, I mean, I've spoken before to you guys about how I'm always drawn, you know, from being a kid, you know, up until now, I'm always drawn to the muscle of the team, you know, the big lovable character, and Groot completely kind of epitomizes that. Someone who is physically imposing, like extremely dangerous, you know, at times in terms of their skill set and strength and stuff like that, but then gentle and tender and loyal, and like, Groot completely stole my heart, you know, in this film. This is just it's just a beautifully kind of timed moment in the film as well. As James said, like, it's kind of genius in a way how how they were able to keep Groot in the franchise, but not lose the impact of this moment. So and it hits different now as well after the third one, and you see Rocket's losses, and you know, so when Rocket's crying and Drax gives him a stroke or whatever, like it hits different now, you know, because you know Groot was probably the first friend he made after Lila and co. So
I mean, an incredible character, and Ian's bang on here. You know, he loves teenage Groot, but I'm just thinking we've had different iterations of Groot all the way through the MCU, really, haven't we? Different kind of ages, and I just love the fact that they keep reinventing him.
I think this is still the best one, though. This is my favorite.
Yeah, one of my favorites, I have to say, James. Yeah, and I just want to point out as well. Again, I know I keep banging on about it, but special effects matter to me. And look at how crisp it is. Do you know what I mean? The animation and the design of Groot is being spot on all the way through this. And yet we get it so wrong with other stuff. It just baffles us. But yeah, stunning. Okay. It's worth saying not that I'm making excuses, but it's worth saying that I always let you guys pick first, and then I kind of have to try and pick things after you. So you guys have got most of the good Winter
what a
Soldier
gem.
picks. But what I want to say is I absolutely love this scene. And
Yeah.
it's not one that comes up very often, and I don't know if it's just because Samuel L. Jackson to me is probably the coolest man on the planet, particularly in his Nick Fury guys. This for me had everything. It had the cool scene where Winter Soldier throws the kind of first time we'd seen, I think, the magnetic bomb. It's been used a few times now, but the first time we see that kind of magnetic bomb thing, which I thought was superb. And then it's just all the gadgets popping up, the different things, kind of the different guns. I love the interaction of the computer kind of talking to him, saying this isn't working, that's not working, and stuff like that. I just loved it.
10% integrity. Yeah, it's brilliant.
And this to me is, I think this was the scene that really made us think, do you know what? I could really get behind a kind of a Nick Fury Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. movie or TV series if this is the kind of spycraft and weaponry and high-tech gadgets we would see, you know.
Didn't get that though, did we?
No,
we didn't get that. No, we didn't get. We got him French kissing a lizard instead. So I mean,
that's
I just
prejudice.
What did you guys think of this scene? We'll start with you, Ben.
Yeah, I mean, I spoke earlier about feeling like Black Widow and Cap were in genuine danger, and this comes before in the film, right? So like this gave me that feeling even earlier in the film. You know, you're like, oh shit, like Nick Fury's in genuine danger here. Like, someone help him. And yeah, just like the stunt work in the cars and stuff, and it all, you know, I don't know what was special effects and what was kind of done on set, but it all felt very real, you know, in the way that it was. And yeah, just kind of, you know, the gadgets are like they're not silly. It's not like Inspector Gadget. They all feel real, but still kind of with that touch of kind of high tech spy, you know, kind of comic booky-ness to them. So yeah, very cool pick.
Yeah, and I think you're right about the gadgets. They didn't look too out of place. Do you know what I mean? It looked believable almost. James, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, it's got the quality that I think every action sequence in Winter Soldier has, is that kind of sense of danger and desperation. I genuinely in the movie thought like this was it for him. Like he was gonna die, and I was quite surprised when he managed to escape. But yeah, it's just so well staged. Like the kind of the tactics of the Hydra agents feel intelligent, you know. They don't feel like they're just kind of idiots or cannon fodder, you know. Like they kind of they bash in the car and kind of wedges, and then they come in with the big hammer thing and it's just punching through the window, and it's just so tense. Just phenomenal. Like, and I think this is like the kind of the first, outside of the Lumerian Star, like the first real scary action sequence in the movie kind of. So I love this one.
Good stuff. Okay, we're back to Ephraim.
Great.
Speaking of this again, for me, just Christ, even from the banter in the airplane with airplane and helicopter, I can't remember, with Cap and Black Widow about, you know, trying to set them up on a date and things like that. The jump, the parachute free jump off it, and then I think I know I absolutely adore the first Captain America movie and I adore the first Avengers movie, but you don't really see Cap's power set, I guess, as you would call it. But then this one, the opening scene where he's literally running across the boat, chucking people all over, and
which is that moment where he kicks the guy, and the guy just like slams into the wall and goes over, and it's just this oh shit moment, and that really set the tone for the whole movie.
I just think at that point you see that Cap is actually he is very, very good at what he does, you know. And yeah, the entire scene for me was just an amazing opener to the movie. And also, I am an absolute sucker for that Super Patriot blue costume. I love that costume. It takes a bit of effort to keep painting these shields different colours, mind. I'm not sure what's going on there, but I do like the design of the costume. We'll start with you, James. What do you think, mate?
Incredible. Really, you know, once the movie starts, you feel like a different vibe to it than I think anything we'd had in the MCU up to that point. Like this felt like a kind of born esque spy thriller, and I think this scene perfectly, encapsulates that. And yeah, just again the choreography of this fight scene, just when he's like, "Oh, you're going, you're a guy in a helmet," he just takes it off and he's speaking French, and yeah, the choreography, like that last kind of like flip kick he does and bashes him to the ground is just incredible. And yeah, Black Widow again, I think is excellent in this scene. Kind of jumping down the stairway and shooting everybody, is great. And yeah, it's just I love this movie so much. Just excellent. Like I'd say probably my favorite opening sequence of any of the Marvel movies as well.
And again, this is the beauty, I think, of the writing now. Because I mean, Ben, I know you're a long-time comic reader. Batroc the Leaper, Howie. Whoever thought would see a kind of a tangible threat, Batroc the Leaper, on screen, and yet this is just phenomenal.
Well,
it gives
I
you hope
thought
for some of your
that we were
crappy
going to
characters.
get Batroc the Leaper
Yeah, of
because
course you
I
did.
knew that they've got taste.
Sure.
I'm an absolute sucker for the B-listers, and
Yeah.
I got such a kick from them, including Batroc, and by all accounts, Batroc is literally moustache twirling in the comics. So the way that they kind of this interpretation is obviously very cool, very subtle, hints to the comic book costume with the kind of burgundy and the yellow there. And they cast a French UFC fighter. What's his name? Jean-Claude Pierre or something?
Georges St. Pierre.
Georges St. Pierre, and that kind of added to the authenticity of the fight with Cap as well. I think you really felt those kicks when he's kind of double kicking the shield and stuff. So yeah, just bloody brilliant. I mean, me and Peter are going to get drenched below James with how much he's gushing tonight.
I know, right? I have to mute myself because you can hear it.
There's a leak. Oh Jesus!
Yeah, superb, absolutely superb. Love this scene. I mean, we're talking an awful lot about Winter Soldier, aren't we? But I think there's a good reason for that because it's freaking phenomenal. Okay. Speaking of B-list,
absolutely fair, I think. Yeah,
very fair. Probably my pick for the whole MCU, to be quite honest. Man, this was just like a dream come true. I absolutely love Howard the Duck. I love the weird and interesting history that has accompanied him as a weird and interesting character. With the whole legal stuff and and then the way he was kind of separated in the comics, and then of course we got the terrible sort of infamous George Lucas film. So yeah, this was just like I honestly laughed for about like 5 minutes, just sat in my chair just after the film had finished, because this was of course a post-credit scene. So we basically go back and the collector is defeated and he's surrounded by the ruins of his collection, and then so it's a double fucking whammy for me as well, because Cosmo comes in, who we did see growl at Rocket earlier in the film, but she comes in and licks his face or whatever. Then the camera just pans to the left and we get Howard just saying, "You're gonna let him lick your face like that? It's gross." And then he takes a sip of his martini. Why has he got a martini? Like, so where did he get that from? And then just it pays tribute to his comic book origins on the film as well. But Seth Green, who voices Howard in the scene, you can still hear him saying, "Oh, it burns going down," or whatever. Like, it's just so perfect, and really interesting as well how this character has kind of been perfected more and more by James Gunn throughout. So this looks quite rough, I think. I think the changes are probably welcome, because this maybe isn't as appealing, I don't think, aesthetically as the redesign. But just Seth Green, obviously I met recently as well. I'm a huge fan of, so just so many things to enjoy about this for me.
Superb. And you know what I like most about this is your little face, Ben, when you're talking about it, because you're literally grinning, and that's what the films should be doing for you. We should be getting that kind of pleasure and buzz from it. I love it. I also, before I come to you, James, I also just want to say that for me, the biggest, well, the entire movie Guardians was a massive surprise in terms of how much I loved it, I think. But I loved the collector in it. What do you call him? Del Toro, is it?
Benicio del Toro.
Benicio del Toro.
Yeah. He was weird and eccentric, and I was there for it. Do you know what I mean? It was a really, really interesting performance. Yeah, loved it. It was great. James, what about yourself? Are you a Howard the Duck fan?
Absolutely. It was such a shock. I remember and I think this really did start the whole kind of what's the cameo going to be? Who's the surprise character that's going to show up? And the excitement over the post-credit scenes, I feel like kind of properly began here. Like I remember at the time, as every movie kind of progressed, I was like, imagine you were like back in the cinema in 2008 and you're watching Iron Man and you're like, how are the Ducks going to be in these movies eventually? Like, you just wouldn't believe that, you know? So like they just kind of got sillier and sillier, but still felt kind of, you know, consistent. And yeah, I've always been kind of, I know Ben's 100% going to agree with this, that he's been so underutilized. Like he's like there in the peripheral, you know, like he's in the end game like finale, but he's never got proper scenes with, or you never actually find out what he's been up to.
It's criminal.
You know?
We didn't have an episode in She-Hulk. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, or like
I agree.
You know, like a Marvel Spotlight or special feature or something like that. You know, like
it might come.
One of them, like yeah, well, hopefully. But like, I mean, this was how long? 8 years ago, 10 years ago, nearly. So
yeah,
you know,
but
we should have had sooner.
I mean, to be fair, without upsetting Ben, to be fair, it's a big ask. People who aren't comic book fans and things, we expect a lot of them to enjoy the characters we all love. Howard the Duck is perhaps a step too far. He's been kind of drip fed in now for a couple of years, so now it probably wouldn't feel as kind of, what the fuck is that? Do you know what I mean? So maybe it is time now for him to make his big screen debut. Or
you hear that, Feige? Now's the time.
Now's the time. It's been agreed. Now is the time. Okay, moving on. Oh, James.
Excellent sequence. Yeah. Just the like, again, scary, and I think that's how Ultron works best in this movie. And yeah, the you know, it's preceded by, I think, this really fun scene that I love as well, of like them trying to lift the hammer and just the kind of party scene, and just seeing the Avengers just hanging out together, like having fun together. And seeing their friendship kind of building, I thought was really great. And yeah, so I love that scene too. But yeah, it's kind of capped off with this moment of him staggering out, and the kind of connection to Pinocchio I really liked as well. The whole like, I've got no strings, you know, that was kind of used in the trailer, and he kind of quotes that to them. But yeah, just the calling them out and saying, you're the problem and you need to go, and just seeing kind of their faces drop and they kind of them realize what's happening was great. So yeah, this is one of my favorite villain moments, I think, in the MCU movies, and it's a shame that kind of the rest of the portrayal of the character didn't really live up to this.
I think that Pinocchio song was genuinely chilling. I thought it was genuinely creepy and quite disturbing. Another great scene. I think my favorite part of this entire scene, though, is Rhodes' War Machine trying to impress everybody with his stories and kind of nobody paying any attention.
War Machine.
That's pretty cool.
Ben, what do you think of the scene with the Asgardian?
Yeah, Excelsior. He's let off. Yeah. Ben, what do you think of this one?
Yeah, great. Just takes you off guard, like, completely, you know, because you're literally there like, oh, he said that, oh, he did that, oh, I'm loving this. And then, you know, he kind of appears and the tone just kind of shifts like immediately into this really kind of creepy and haunting sort of monologue. And yeah, just perfectly delivered. The design of having one of the, you know, the sentries kind of damaged and put back together and stuff like that. It was just genius. It's almost a shame, though, right, that this film, you know, the events of the film with Sokovia kind of, is it Sokovia being dropped and stuff. It's a shame that wasn't another villain that did that, and then Ultron came after, because a lot of Ultron's speeches about the hypocrisy of being a hero and the Avengers failing and, you know, stuff like that could have made a lot more sense kind of after the events of, like, Sokovia and Civil War and stuff like that, because it's almost like it was almost all felt a little bit premature. I think so. Yeah, but I love this. Like, honestly, if you were to put me on the spot and say you can bring back one character in the MCU that's died, then I probably would bring back Ultron.
Yeah, I think I'm the same, Ben. I think I'm with you. And I mean, just seeing this scene, it reminds us of the scene before this, which I again remember being really quite disturbed by, with the death of Jarvis, because it starts off so playful, and then you get that kind of broken speech pattern from Jarvis as he's assimilated and it's out on screen. Do you know what I mean? There's no, it's just flashing stuff, but again, quite dark, I think.
Power of the voice performance, though, like, because as you say, nothing, it's just numbers and that talking to each other. But you just completely hone in on the voices. Really good.
Great pick, James. Great pick, mate. I've picked this one. This kind of represents for me the start of Guardians, that initial kind of scene. I'm a big, long-time Guardians of the Galaxy fan, going back to the original iterations of them. But I went into Guardians with absolutely no expectations, really, although the trailer kind of got us excited. And then just that opening scene in Guardians, I thought was phenomenal, with the singing and the dancing and stuff. And then
iconic.
I love it when he gets his arms out. I love it when he does the little arm thing. It's just phenomenal. And then I think this line for me was just perfection, because up till this point, most of the MCU films, even the non-comic book nerds, knew who Iron Man was. They'd heard of Captain America. They might have heard of Thor, And then you get this line where he says, "I'm Star-Lord," and I can't remember the actor's name, but he says, "Who?" And that for me represented pretty much everybody in the audience around me. And I just thought it's perfectly pitched. And I just loved the humor of it. So so for me, this scene kind of represented the start of a really interesting change in MCU movies, in terms of going to characters that perhaps weren't as well known or liked. What do you guys think of the start of Guardians?
Just as soon as it begins, you just think to yourself, this is going to be a fun movie. Like, you just know. Again, tonally, such a stark difference from Winter Soldier, but it's just got an energy to it when it begins. Very unexpected, I think, like how it begins. But just like the writing, the dancing, the cinematography. I mean, it's stunning to look at. And again, this is kind of one of our first. We'd seen a bit of Asgard and stuff, but this is like our first proper look at like society in the galaxy in the MCU, and just incredible. And I think there's a lot of like iconic. I love the bit where he has the helmet on and he's jumping over the chasm is great. Just again, one of the best openings, I think, of the MCU as well. I'd put that up there.
And I think I think I've read how involved James Gunn is, but his choice of music for all of these movies, Guardians movies, is just spot on. I mean, absolutely amazing. Ben, what are you thinking of this one?
Yeah, great. I mean, Djimon Hounsou, I think is the actor's name, who plays Korath, the pursuer, and I think he just delivers the line just perfectly. Ooh. Like and it completely sets the tone of the Guardians of the Galaxy, which is like, here's this fantastical kind of Indiana Jones like scene where you've got this kind of adventurer, looting treasure or doing what, we don't really know what's going on. And then it's just cut short with humor. That's kind of the trend throughout Guardians. You'll have this amazing spectacle, fantastical space adventure, stuff happen, and then it's always cut with, a fantastic bit of humor. And I think that sets the tone for the whole franchise, really. And honestly, like him singing and dancing and stuff, and I mean, it was made extra funny now by Endgame when you listen to it without the music or whatever. Hilarious. But like, I honestly think that's as iconic as Iron Man coming out of the cave, as Cap coming out of the container or whatever. Like, I think that's up there now. So, and that's credit to these two, to the way they performed it and stuff. Star-Lord's such an arrogant name anyway. It's like anyone who actually calls themselves that is like immediately kind of where you're at with that character as well. So just fantastic. Love it.
Very cool. Very cool. Next, Efren picked this guy. He just loves this character, and I
Shame
think
Efren's here not to deliver the line as
I know
well.
I can imagine him
like
delivering
he'd
it.
nail it.
Yeah. I missed him in Ant-Man 3, man. I missed a lot of stuff
I
in
did as
Ant-Man
well.
3.
And I think he would have suited that, like him in the
Yeah.
Good
quantum
film in that
realm.
film, isn't it?
He would have been
Yeah.
great.
Yeah. So I think Efren's picked this. I've enjoyed this gentleman's scenes in both 1 and 2. What do you guys think? You like this level of humor in them?
You can really feel this is like a leftover from Edgar Wright's involvement on the movie. I
Yeah,
think
I
this,
was gonna say.
even just the way it's edited together, it's like exact, and the way Edgar Wright writes scripts, he like puts directional things in there as well, and I think that's something they held on to. But yeah, just the it's just hilarious, and again, kind of an unexpected thing, but like he's just kind of paraphrasing this story, and you're just seeing it go along, and it's obviously unreliable narrator.
Yeah, very cool. Ben, I know you're a big fan of this guy, aren't you?
Yeah, so it's weird because Ant-Man's probably like one of my favorite films in this whole phase, and I haven't actually picked any Ant-Man scenes tonight because I did find it quite hard to have those scenes override the picks that I have made. But I absolutely adore the first Ant-Man film, the humor, the kind of locality to it. I kind of like, after all these big films, and stuff, like I like how local Ant-Man is and the threat and stuff like that. But I was absolutely gutted when Edgar Wright left the project. I remember watching do you remember they leaked
the test footage
and I was just so excited. So when all that kind of crumbled and stuff, I was absolutely gutted because Edgar Wright's my favorite director, and I think they've done a really good job at kind of rescue up until the third film. But I think in the first 2 films they did a really good job at kind of honoring what, as James said, kind of original ideas that are clearly Edgar's, but also making it suitable for the MCU, because I think ultimately that's where the issue was, is that Edgar wanted to make something that might not have slotted into the MCU as well as other films.
Yeah, but I think we've talked before, Ben, about how you're right. The first 2 Ant-Man movies I think were so successful because Paul Rudd is very good at that kind of character, and it was quite low key. It was set, in recognizable places, and then you go to 3, and it's just the absolute far end. It's far opposite to that as you can possibly get.
Ant-Man is interesting because he's surrounded by normal things, but he grows big and small. That immediately doesn't become interesting anymore if you've got fucking aliens everywhere.
That's a really good point.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean?
I think you're exactly right. Yeah, it's him in normal situations.
Yeah,
being the extraordinary,
being the fish out of water, because even in kind of Endgame and stuff like that, he
even
felt
Civil War and stuff.
Lost,
like
100%. And he's saying there that he thinks Loki 2 will make or break Disney Plus. Yeah, I think there's a lot
pressure
riding
on it. I'm
Yeah.
excited for that.
So man, I'm loving the McDonald's tie-in kind of stuff. That's quite
that's
interesting.
funny.
I just love the color palette, the tone, having Ki Young Kyung come back for it. So
Ben, Trevor,
hot potato. Trevor Slattery, the twist of Iron Man 3. So I may get absolutely murdered in the comments for this pick, but honestly, I thought this was like a great twist, right? Is when no one sees it coming, or as the Mandarins say, "You'll never see me coming."
Yeah,
that was quite good. So I don't know anyone that predicted this before. I don't think this was leaked in any shape or form before the film. And we look at how things are today, and that's virtually impossible. Now, you look at bloody No Way Home and literally people taking pictures of the fucking people on set. Like it's got crazy. So this was absolutely amazing how they were able to keep this under wraps. The comedic performance here is sensational. Ben Kingsley, who is obviously renowned for his role as Gandhi and stuff, very kind of serious Shakespearean actor, but the comedic timing, the delivery of the kind of bumbling lines and stuff, his kind of interaction with the two sex workers in the bed and things like it. Nussy. And I've got a very weird personal connection to this character as well. So my grandpa was a Liverpudlian, but a posh Liverpudlian. So his voice, and he kind of looked. My grandpa had a big nose and stuff. Kind of looked a bit like Ben Kingsley. So I've got this weird thing where I kind of hear and see my grandpa a little bit whenever I sort of see Ben Kingsley, especially in this role as well. Because Trevor Slattery's such a fool, and my grandpa was always kind of joking around and stuff like that. So, but yeah, no, I even with that, all of that aside, I think it just completely subverted the expectation of the film and also the expectation of the genre as well. And I think that made people angry because people don't like change. They don't like to be caught off guard. Nerds like to be right. And it kind of, there was no nerd that was right about this. And I just think that looking back on it, that's such an incredible thing. So yeah, I absolutely love this scene and love this character.
So, I mean, as I said at the start, I'm a comic fan and I was excited to see Mandarin because we'd set it up in Iron Man 1 and all the rest of it. I thought his performance as the Mandarin was sensational. The terrorist kind of organizer. I thought that was sensational.
Never see me.
Yeah, it's just amazing. And then this twist, like you say, Ben, completely took me by surprise. And I remember just grinning in the cinema because one, I love it when I don't know what's about to happen. Do you know what I mean? I hate that trailers and stuff spoil everything for us. So I genuinely enjoy a flip. But then two, the performance was just absolutely on point for me. I loved everything about it. And I really didn't understand at the time why everybody was getting so upset and wound up.
Well, I'll explain, Peter.
How then, James? Over to you.
Like you said, listen, I will say, I think this is a tremendous scene. I, in retrospect, really appreciate that the movie went out there, and I think it is quite brilliant in the sense that it's almost meta in a way where we were all fooled by this persona of the Mandarin in the marketing in the same way that the characters are in the movie. I think that's amazing thing to do. But I felt a little bit robbed. I was upset at it in the movie because I was I wanted to see. I knew it wasn't going to be a 10 Rings blasting lasers, kind of thing. But I really loved what I was presuming to be the interpretation of the Mandarin that they were going for, and I was excited to see that be the villain of the movie. So I was upset at that, but in retrospect, it's brilliant. And I actually think the scene itself is hilarious. It's so shocking. You're just ole, it's just what's going on? It's such a you're just what's going on here? And phenomenal performance. And
when he's like, I had a bad drug habit and I was doing things that I didn't want to do. And he's like, oh, so they got you off the drugs? He's like, no, they got me more.
It's just so sharp and well written. So in retrospect, I love it.
I wanted to come in as well because I honestly think what's so genius about Iron Man 3, the whole thing's kind of a commentary on military and the kind of hypocritical elements of military and war and stuff like that, and the whole setup of having the Mandarin kind of preyed a little bit on the kind of the kind of Islamophobic sort of state that America was kind of in at one point, and that kind of lack of knowledge about the Middle East and things like that. So it's it almost made everyone guilty, right? Because everyone, you sat there going, oh yeah, that's the Mandarin, that's the bad guy. Oh, it's very good that they've translated the comics because it's not right that he would have been, oh, but it's right to do it the other way or whatever. So it was it kind of, do you know what I mean? But I can say that now looking back on it, but at the time all of those stuff didn't necessarily hit, but it kind of hits now because we've grown and we've learned, and I think this is very ahead of its time, the whole film. I really do.
Oh, absolutely,
Christmas, put it on. It's a Christmas film. Put it on at Christmas, everyone.
Snow. It's nice that we got him back, obviously, in Shang-Chi as well. So that was nice.
Oh, and just like to have him in Wonder Man is fucking going to be hilarious as well. You
And
know it.
a shout out to All Hail the King as well, the short film.
Yeah, it's very good as well. I like that.
Very good. Yeah,
I like that. Now that's a character I'd like to see back as well. Justin Hammer. I really liked the portrayal of
Armor
Justin
Wars.
Hammer.
I'm assuming, like,
yeah.
Why wouldn't you bring him back? Like,
because you were superb.
So,
Good. So another great pick, Ben. Oh, gee. Now at the start, I said there's one scene that I absolutely do, and this is for me probably my favorite scene of all the MCU, probably apart from Cap lifting Mjolnir. I just think this is so cool. The line delivery, before we get started, does anybody want to get out? I just think it's just a brilliant scene. So James, you pick this one.
Yeah, I was gonna let you have it, Peter, because I asked for it. And you said it's taken, and I said, "Okay, I'll have the Nick Fury scene of the Lemurian Star." And you're like,
I'm not like that with my scenes, by the way. I'm like, oh, you snooze, you lose.
Yeah.
So I mean, like, I have this the biggest poster in my room is of the scene. Like, it's so iconic, and just the way he I can't remember I haven't watched Winter Soldier in a few months now, but the context of him, he's just had a meeting where he's been told basically to piss off and stop asking questions.
He's just on the way down in the lift, doesn't he? Then people start
so he
drifting
just steps in, and people just start kind of piling in, like, as at every level, and you see like the kind of the two, like Frank Grillo's character that he doesn't trust, and he looks at the guy, and the bead of sweat is going down, and just the tension is building, and the doors close, and it's like, does anyone want to get out? It's
and I love that
so
line
good.
as well. What does he say when Crossbones says to him, "It's not personal, Cap," and then after he kind of
felt kind of personal to me. But like also like the way they kind of grab him and the like magnetic things up to the wall, and it's just brilliant. And like to have such a well choreographed fight scene in such an enclosed space with so many people is really just wild. And I think this is like one of the best Cap sequences going. Absolutely.
I love it whenever we're kind of reminded that, yes, because I know, Ben, you don't always appreciate the goody two shoes characters, but Cap's different to your Supermans and stuff, because we often forget first and foremost he's a soldier, so he is well trained. He has got that military background and stuff. And I'd love to see a kind of an old movie of him fighting during World War II. I'd love to see a World War II based movie with the Howling Commandos and all that kind of stuff, because we saw some of it in the first Captain America. But
it was brought down to a montage.
Yeah,
really cool, really great montage.
Yeah, very cool.
In my short list last time, but a movie would have been cool.
Ben, what do you think of this scene?
Yeah, just MCU or just movie perfection. To be honest, like it's kind of it. You are with Cap in terms of like the emotional journey of the moment. So the more people enter the lift, you start to slowly realize, oh fuck, it's going to kick off here. Cap slowly realizing, oh fuck, it's going to kick off here. And then the moment he decides to kind of make a stand, you're just like, yeah, go get him. And it's just such a, like, you are just completely with the character in that moment. And just having the fight in a small space kind of forced the creativity, in the way that it's shot and the way that it's kind of choreographed with the fight. And just really exciting, and just kind of just felt like a real shift in the MCU as well, because this was the moment that Hydra ultimately kind of revealed, So you're just like, I was just gobsmacked the whole time. I just couldn't believe it. I was like, oh,
it's like in the S.H.I.E.L.D. headquarters, like this is happening, so it's like they're everywhere.
Because he literally drops out and people are just on their way to work and stuff like that, and wow. I mean, this is, I want to go and watch this tonight now.
Yeah. Me too.
I think I will,
it's when I look at images like this as well, I realize how massively unfair human genetics are. When you look at how perfect Chris Evans is in every way, shape, do you know what I mean? The bastard's been blessed, but it's a stunning scene. I love that one. Now, I mean, I was thinking, Ben, you're close second halves. So my last favorite pick, and we couldn't get through this little series here without possibly one of the biggest geekgasms ever on cinema screen, for me personally, which was the Hulk versus Hulkbuster. I mean, this for me, it was
like
just
they're casually fist bumping now.
Yeah, it was just phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal. The special effects are spot on, the choreography is spot on, the humor is still there. The whole Tony Stark kind of Robert Downey Jr.-ness is just brilliant in it. Some genuine kind of danger to the people around and stuff. Avengers 1 gave us my Hulk versus Thor, which I loved. And then this gave a Hulk Buster versus Hulk, which I just thought it was phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. What do you guys think of this one?
Yeah, just like, you know, show-stopping action. As you say, I can't pick a flaw in any of the kind of shots, you know, when it comes to effects, like we can quite easily these days. You know, it's just a lot of fun, I think, whenever you see the Hulk match. Like, it's fun seeing Hulk rag people about, but when you do get those kind of those odd moments where he is kind of matched to a degree, Hulkbuster or Thanos, you know, it comes sparingly, but when that does happen, you're really Abomination, of course, you're really kind of like, oh wow. And yeah, again, you know, I spoke about earlier having that kind of savage Hulk. You know, it's almost a shame, you know, when he kind of, obviously he's being manipulated, but it's a shame that wasn't more permanent, you know, for a few films or you know, a series or whatever, like, because that's real conflict, you know, when he's completely lost control of the Hulk. And just is this where he's like, go to sleep, go to sleep, go to sleep?
You stuck it out. That was gonna be my line.
Sorry, so good. So good.
Yeah, just like seeing everything. Yeah, that was a great one. You know, and just seeing like all the things it can do, and yeah, it's just shot perfectly. Like, I think you summed pretty much everything up there. Yeah, fantastic sequence. A standout of that movie, certainly.
Yeah, I mean, I love the scene as well where Veronica sends him the extra arm, and it looks so cool. And then he sends his second extra arm, and Hulk kind of grabs it and throws it and smashes. Right, it's just an amazing scene
when he boxes him in and he digs through the ground to get out. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, very cool, very cool. Okay, guys, so that's our top picks. We went to YouTube and we got some picks from the original Big D, Dave. He said the Guardians of the Galaxy prison scene. Yeah, I forgot about that one. I love that as well. I love Rocket telling him he needs the guy's. Is it the guy's eye in that one? A leg or something? I can't remember.
The leg, is it?
The leg.
No, was his eye? I can't remember.
But Rocket keeps collecting body parts.
Oh, it's the leg.
The leg. Yeah.
I just did that to mess with him.
It's the eye of the Ravager in the second film.
Yeah,
that's right. So yeah, again, a fantastic scene. Hulkbuster versus Thor. Versus Hulk. Yeah. Jack, the whole of the Winter Soldier. I think I would have. Yeah. Comics only. Winter Soldier. Cap skydiving without a parachute. Yeah, and the elevator fight. Yeah. Elevator fight scene from Reviews with Rich. Fuzzy couldn't condense it into one thing, so he sent us a bit of a message. But he did say that it was changing regularly. He had a real hard time picking some of these because there's just so many good ones. Bridge scene in Winter Soldier, but it could have been the lift scene. The Guardians breaking out of jail, but it could have been the Orb fight. Yeah, I like the Orb fight as well, yeah. Hulk versus Hulkbuster, but could have been the Avengers attacking Hydra.
So that's six. That's six scenes.
Yeah. I think we've covered all of those, but haven't we? I think we've pretty much covered all of them. We've got Entropy in Comics. Thank you very much for joining. Okay, so that's everybody's favourites. Now let's look at what worst. Now
this is the exciting part. I'm very curious now what you went with.
Been a bit of a challenge, but we've picked a few interesting ones here. We'll start with Ephraim's pick and yeah.
Oh, Ephraim.
So Ephraim's not a fan of this at all. Ephraim's not a fan of this at all. And I think, for all the reasons we've discussed earlier on, it is Ephraim, I've discovered, doesn't like it when we stray from the source material. I think.
Also, Ephraim's American, and the whole film is a satire on America. So.
Yeah. Norrin's just saying here that Rocket looks for body parts in case he finds his childhood friends again.
Don't make it sad.
So Ephraim's pick was good old Trev. I think we've talked about that one. And you're wrong, Ephraim. You're not here to defend yourself, so you're wrong. Ben.
Yeah, so hashtag not my Quicksilver.
How dare you?
I was a fan of Aaron Taylor Johnson before this, obviously being a huge fan of Kick-Ass 1 and Kick-Ass 2. Godzilla. I didn't mind him in that first Godzilla film, but for me, this was such a bland interpretation of a character that is the absolute opposite of bland. And the trouble with this is that you immediately are going to compare it to Evan Peters, and for me, Evan Peters completely kind of encapsulated the troubled nature of Pietro, because of his upbringing, because of neglect, all of that stuff. He kind of, you could tell that weight was on his shoulders, and his speed manifests into his personality, where everything, the way that he talks is quick, and he kind of doesn't even react to stuff because his mind's somewhere else, and all of that was there. And then of course, the creative way that they showed the Speed Force and stuff like that. So I do think that this film was up against it, because those comparisons were immediately going to be made, but I just felt like he was just kind of a real kind of generic-y sort of it was like an emo, but there wasn't really any kind of depth to what he was doing, I don't think, in terms of the performance, or whether it was the performance or the way it was written, I don't know. I felt like the speed nature of what he was doing just felt really throwaway. I don't know, like they kind of didn't find a way to make it look or different or interesting in any way, and I'm glad he died.
I'm glad he's dead.
Yeah, I said it.
What's that line off? That's off Batman, isn't it? When he's talking to the fried corpse, he says, "I'm glad you're dead." James, you were shaking your head all the way through that.
I'm very upset. I'm very upset by this.
Are you offended? Are you angry?
To be honest, I actually had a thought of, I didn't even think of it. I probably would have put his death scene because I was upset that he died. I love this version of the character. I know, like, Evan Peters, I think, is better utilized. But like we didn't get enough of Aaron Taylor Johnson in this role, and I really liked his cockiness. You didn't see that coming, like I thought that was great. I think that the speedster effect itself is really well done. There's like one bit where he just absolutely clocks Captain America, and I thought that was like oof moment, really fun. And yeah, I wish we had gotten to see more. I was really upset we didn't get to see him in WandaVision. Like, they didn't just they had so many opportunities in that to have him like for a scene even, and they didn't.
They upgraded him, baby.
How dare you? No, I like him. Even visually, I like the costume. I think
I do like the costume. I will give you that. I think the costume is obviously better than that fucking
trainers and
silver.
Yeah, the silver jacket and the AC/DC t-shirt. Yeah. No, I love this interpretation of the character. So I disagree on that.
I'm with James on this one. I enjoyed this interpretation. Although I have to say, I do like my Quicksilver's. I like my Quicksilver arrogant bastard. I like him from the old X Factor days. I remember reading a comic where, I don't know if you've read this one, Ben, where they're all in a psychology session individually with Doc Samson, and he's explaining why he's an arrogant, angry prick. And he explains it as, have you ever been in the bank where the person in front of you can't operate the cash point, and how frustrated you're getting? He says, well, that's my life. Every second of it, I'm surrounded by people who can't operate. And I just thought, what a great way of explaining a speedster,
writing that is.
Yeah.
I use like X-Men Evolution as my kind of head canon of Quicksilver. Like, for me, that's kind of the best template. And I just don't feel like it came across as arrogant enough. Like it came across as quips rather than arrogance, and everyone's fucking quipping in the MCU, so you could say, oh, Captain America's being arrogant because he made a comment or whatever. It didn't feel cocky enough. Like, I don't know. And I know it's weird to say, but they kind of, Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch are a bit incestuous in the comics as well, and I kind of didn't really get
that.
No, well, don't like.
There needs to be more incest in these superhero movies.
No, don't go full Game of Thrones with it, but like, have that weird element to, because they're weirdos. They're
very, very. So I mean, even in is it the Ultimates Volume 4 or 3 or 4?
Wolverine.
They took that maybe a step too far in that, but
dirty. Moving on from incest, James.
Yeah, I really struggled, to be honest. Like, even thinking of like Thor: The Dark World, of like a specific scene that I thought was bad, and I couldn't really. It's more the movie as a whole, I feel, doesn't click. But I remember this being a scene that really riled people, and I completely understand why. So like, it's Black Widow and Hulk talking, Bruce Banner talking, and she mentions about the fact that, like, her going through the Black Widow program, and she mentions specifically that she can't have kids, and she follows that immediately up with, "So you're not the only one who's a monster," and it's sort of the implication was because she can't have kids, that makes her like a monster in a way, which I think is a really horrendous kind of thing to say, considering there are people who for one reason or another can't, and just that's a really kind of insensitive thing, sentiment to have in the movie. So I think it would have, like, it's a phenomenal, I think it's a great performance, like Scarlett Johansson really sells it, but if she was just referring to like the bad things that she's done, I think this would have been one of her best scenes.
I mean, I probably have to go back and rewatch it, because I kind of picked up that she meant she felt she was a monster for all the things she's done. I didn't realize it was linked to the not being able to have children.
She's specifically referring to the fact that she can't have children anymore.
Weird. Ben, did you pick up on that one?
I didn't, to be honest. I probably interpret it, the same as you, in terms of her talking about being a monster in general, or I don't know if it's. I kind of picked up that it was referring to like mutilation. Like,
exactly.
Stuff, that, but that's a very natural, flawed way of a victim thinking, is that they think they're the monster, even though it's the monsters that did whatever they did to them. So I don't know. I feel like this scene's really really well written and stuff. I'll have to revisit it. Maybe it's just I didn't pick up on that specific line. But
interesting pick, that one, James. I'll have to go back and rewatch it. Okay, so my pick. We've talked about Josh Whedon and his sense of humor at times, and obviously it's kind of come out post that he's a bit of a weirdo at a certain point. But I remember watching Age of Ultron, and there's a line in that movie that I remember distinctly in the cinema, kind of sitting up and thinking, did he say what I think he said? But nobody around us seemed to be bothered by it. And that's the scene where they're all having a bit of a laugh at Avengers Mansion, and they're trying to lift the hammer. And Tony Stark says, "I will be originating Prima Nocta." Now,
I don't know what that means.
I'm fresh off watching Braveheart. So for those that don't know, Prima Nocta is a nobleman's right to take the virginity of any children or unmarried people in his area. So basically what Tony Stark's saying there is he's going to reinstigate the right to have sex with whoever he wants before they're married. And it just felt weird. It felt because that's, if you remember back in Braveheart, that's a big scene. They go to try, and the nobleman goes to claim one of the daughters, which sets it all off and up to the celebration of the wedding. And I just remember thinking, what a strange thing for Tony Stark to say, but what a strange thing to slip into the middle of a kiddie.
I mean,
movie.
you're blaming your Sweden. It might have been Robert Downey Jr. improvising.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. But I just thought odd, very strange. Did either of you guys pick up on this or not?
I didn't even. I don't know. I didn't know what Prima Nocta was, so I don't think I heard it. Do you know what I mean? It didn't go into my brain because I didn't.
It's a bit like the whole Avengers 1 Mule and Quim line that he slipped in there, which kind of got under the radar because nobody understood what it was meant to be. Which
I googled Mule and Quim.
Yeah.
Because it sounded great. I was like, I'm going to Google it.
But this just feels a little bit kind of rapey to me. It's a bit.
Good thing to say.
Yeah.
My
Stark's a horrendous person as well. Like we forget.
Exactly, isn't it? Yeah. Womanizer and just a bad dude. My memory at the time was like I had interpreted as, because there's a thing in like Game of Thrones called the First Night, which is when like a lord can take if one of his like people are getting married, he can like have sex with the wife first.
Yeah,
I thought that was what he was referring to. Yeah, similar kind of thing. It didn't stick out to me particularly at the time. I think I had a little bit of a giggle. I didn't read too much into it, but I suppose in retrospect, it's maybe not a
sick bastard.
I'm not sure.
I'm not upset by it by any means, but like, it's kind of a throwaway gag, I guess. But yeah, it is a strange one.
I don't think it fits well with modern sensibilities, saying.
Yeah.
But anyway, it's an interesting one. But that's probably the only thing I could find to really moan and complain about.
You two clearly struggling, weren't you?
But I was. Many cultures still have it, though. You're absolutely right, Fuzzy. It's not. Yeah. Anyway, that's our picks for best and worst bits of the Marvel Universe, Phase 2. Now, we haven't got a topic for our next top 3, so please have a bit of a think, gents. Drop us some lines. We'll see what we want to do. Do you want to go straight into Phase 3?
A little variety. Let's have a DC or a Star Wars or something, and then go back to
variety.
We've done Star Wars.
Yeah, but we've done Marvel twice. So
have we done horror? Yeah, we've done horror.
We did 4 horror videos.
Yeah. I mean, we'll do horror in October.
What about animated films? We haven't done cartoons.
Yeah, let's do.
I've got a PhD in cartoons, so
let's do that. We'll do Fuzzy's pleading, no more Star Wars. We'll do animated feature films, best animations, cartoons, whatever. We'll think of something catchy. Best kills from the Scream franchise. Maybe do that Halloween. That would be a good one. We've done comedies, Ian. We did comedies a couple of months back, mate.
Just best horror kills. Be a cool one.
Yeah, we'll do that Halloween.
Just overall, yeah.
Best kills. Best kills. That'll be an uplifting show. Yeah. Phil. Yes, I agree. No more Star Trek. You mean Star Wars, Phil? You want more Star Trek? We've done no Star Trek.
No Star Trek. I think is what you mean.
Bring back that little shit emoji for Star Trek. What?
Right, chaps. Thank you very much, and thank you to everybody in the chat. We've had Fuzzy, you're a sick man. We've had 20 odd people watching. Really do appreciate that, ladies and gentlemen. Please do hit that like and subscribe. Please do check out James T. Keegan and the Attention Seeking Geek. We'll probably be doing something end of the week. I'm not sure what, but I'm sure we'll be doing something. Saturday, I'll probably be doing This Is My with Rob, and then on Monday we're going to be doing this. This is our Geeky Art Attack, and we're going to be doing X-Men. So Mutants Galore will be challenging the team to do some artwork regarding the mutants of the Marvel Universe. So quite looking forward to that one. That should be interesting. That's your whack. Thank you very much, Ben, James. Always an absolute pleasure. Always have fun with you guys. And again, a massive thank you to everybody in the chat. It's been great. And with that, we'll call it a night. So night, everybody. Bye.